Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Sarah Jane, and welcome to Gift of Healing TV. This week, we actually have a topic that I love. I love all the different top techniques and practices, but this one is a special favourite of mine that I don't do, and that's homeopathy. Homeopathy for the 21st century. And I'm delighted to welcome back Vanessa Honeybourne. Now, Vanessa's been with us a couple of times on a couple of our panel discussions about SAD and ME/CFS. And I'm bringing her back this week to literally talk about homeopathy for homeopathy's sake, I suppose. I don't think I quite mean it that way. So let me introduce Vanessa, and then we're going to get right down to it. Vanessa first experienced homeopathy in 1990 when she was suffering from many health issues and had been offered little help and support from the local GP. Her mother had heard on Radio 4 about the benefits of homeopathy and suggested she tried it, which she did, and she has never looked back. So keen to discover how this medicine worked, Vanessa trained at the Practical College of Homeopathy in London. At the time, she worked in a large perfumery department in a well-known store and had many colleagues who were willing volunteers. Amazingly, everyone she was helping was either getting better or improving, and her passion for treating patients was born. Vanessa qualified in 1997 and worked with 2 Indian doctors in East London and at Neal's Yard, Covent Garden, where she gained a wealth of knowledge. In 2000, she moved to Bournemouth and continued to practice homeopathy in a doctor's surgery in Poole and a charity-based clinic in Southbourne. Vanessa is currently based in Ferndown and lives there with her husband, teenage daughter, and hamster called Diggy. Vanessa, welcome back to the programme, and it's just you this week.
Well, thank you very much for asking me back. I'm really looking forward to this session very much.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for being here with us, and I'm really looking forward to this. Before we get into the actual homeopathy, just share a little bit more about yourself, because I just like people to get to know my guests.
Sure. I started off, as I said, in London. I was really quite unwell. It was physical symptoms that were coming from all sorts of different areas of my life. I had pretty much 2 or 3 serious grief issues to deal with, and then big changes of jobs and stresses at jobs, and it accumulated to the point where I just felt it was such a struggle to keep going. It was almost like these ME states, these chronic fatigue states, but I had terrible migraines with it. So it was very debilitating, and I found a homeopath, and she treated me, and I never looked back. I never realised I'd never been that well until I'd gone to homeopathy. And I realised that I'd increased energy. I never got sick around all the other colleagues I was working with. I'd go months and months without picking up anything, not even the slightest cold or sore throat. And everyone would be always taking Lemsips and things for their colds and flu-y type symptoms, and I never got any of that. And so when I suddenly realised that I was the only well person there, I thought, well, it's got to be the homeopathy. So I went off to study just out of my own curiosity. And I have to say, the actual mechanics of homeopathy, I'm not sure many people would ever understand how it truly works. But I've had experience of many people that it works on. And if it works for animals and they don't know whether it's a placebo or whether there's a full substance in there, then it's fine for me. I feel that if the dogs love it and the horses love it, there's every good reason a human should take it.
But I actually think that's with everything. I mean, that with the Reiki, to me, animals love it. In fact,
oh, absolutely.
If they don't want it, they'll walk away from you. But if they do want it, they come to you. And I've had that with horses, I've had it with dogs, I've had it with cats. It is, you know, there is it. The animals to me prove that it works.
Absolutely. So from then on, I went to college and I studied, and everyone at college kept saying, "Oh, the only place you really learn about homeopathy is in India." Well, I hate travelling. It's something I'm not really good at all. I'm not a great traveller. And when I qualified, I applied for different places to practice, and out of the blue, I saw an advert for 2 Indian doctors in East London wanting a female homeopath. I mean, what are the chances of that happening? And so I went along, and it was like working in a mini India environment. Many of the women that I treated actually could not speak English, so their husbands translated, or sometimes the husbands would just leave the women with me. And it was a case of observational skills, looking at how their eyes looked, looking at their skin and complexion, asking them, you know, pointing to various parts of their body, and they would demonstrate how that felt. So I learned an awful lot about how people can communicate without actually speaking, and getting the remedies around just what you were looking at and touching and feeling their, you know, the skin tones and the body temperatures. It gave me such a wide experience on just looking at people individually, and I was really encouraged by the 2 Indian doctors to become part of the community and share my knowledge with the women that could speak English, so that they could pass it on to the whole community. So I felt like I was drip feeding homeopathy throughout a new community that had arrived here in the UK.
Wow.
And teaching them a bit of English as well.
Oh, wonderful. Folks, for those of you that aren't in the UK and are watching this live, we've got a bit of a heat wave, and I think it is slightly affecting our technology here. Providing you can still hear us, if our pictures are slightly out of sync with what we're saying, please ignore that. It's just down probably to the humidity we've got here in the UK at the moment. And both Vanessa and I are down in the Bournemouth, Dorset area, and it has been jolly hot down here today. So, and it's not getting a lot better this evening. So please, just provided you can hear us, that's the most important thing. And those of you that are watching, please feel free to ask questions. You know, yes, we've got questions we're going to ask Vanessa and for her to share, but if you've got something specific, we would love to hear from you. And if you're watching the replay or the YouTube video, we're going to be sharing Vanessa's website. Do contact her. You know, that's what all my guests that come on are quite happy for people to connect with them. You know, they're very happy for that. So, Vanessa, we've said homeopathy for the 21st century. But what is homeopathy?
Well, homeopathy is a system of medicine that is very gentle, safe and effective. And it's a method of eliminating disease and restoring health. So it's about strengthening the body's own immune system. And so it's making the body less susceptible to the influences that can cause illness that may be present in the environment. And the homeopathic remedies are made from very small, minute doses of natural substances which are safe, they're non-addictive and non-toxic. So you can take them alongside your conventional medicine, you can try them alongside herbal medicines and complementary therapies, and they work in restoring the whole body. It's a whole holistic treatment. So it's not just treating organs or one part of you, it's about the whole person's state of well-being. And it treats you as an individual. So you don't have a bunch of migraine remedies. You you actually take the patient's case history and you look for their individual symptoms, what makes them feel better, worse, what their diets are like, what causes them stress, how they deal with their stress will be different to somebody else. And by the information they give us, then we prescribe the homeopathic remedy that is most like them. So the principle is treating like for like. So for example, if you had hay fever and you had streaming eyes, then you're likely to give allium sepia, which is an onion, because once you chop up an onion, it would make you cry usually. So if that was a symptom of your hay fever, that would be a very good remedy. So it's treating like for like, very similar. That is one of the most important laws.
And if I'm not mistaken, yes, the like for like, because I did a lovely little course about homeopathy, well, 15, 16, 17 years ago, not to be a practitioner, but it was the like for like. But it's also, the more diluted the remedy, the more powerful it gets. Am I remembering that right?
That's right. It's called succussion of the remedy. So you take 1 part per 100 and you succuss it, which means just shake it rapidly. And it's the vibration of the shaking that causes the remedy to become active, if you like. And so the more you dilute it and the more you succuss and shake it, the more potent the remedy becomes. And you tend to use the very high potencies, as we call them, for very much more the mind and the stresses of the body, so mental and emotional symptoms. Whereas your physical, because it's really down in the base of the body, you know, you can see it, feel it, and touch it, as it were. Lower potencies would be much more appropriate for physical symptoms, i.e. first aid remedies. If you've had an accident, never been well since falling over, you give arnica, would probably do it. But that's quite a low potency.
Yeah, because if I remember rightly, arnica's really good for sort of bruising.
Yes, absolutely. And if then, from having had an accident, you're in a very fearful state, and it's the mind, then 200, you see, getting up to 200 would be good to put fear to bed. It would restore calm to the body.
Okay, now we lost some of that. Am I right in thinking that was it aconite you said?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Because obviously what I want to do is make sure that sort of people can at least hear what the remedy is. And yes, I'd say the atmospheric stuff is definitely having, because we lost your picture for a while as well.
Oh dear. Oh.
No, but we've got you back, so that's the most important thing. And this is what I love about this. It's so real. So okay, I know we've mentioned a couple of things here about what can you use it for. So, and we've obviously just talked about the bruising and things, but I mean, have you covered that in what you've just said about what is homeopathy?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, okay, so what kind of symptoms can be treated? I know you've just mentioned the streaming eyes for hay fever.
Well, there's a whole list of symptoms you can treat, and I'll give you some common ailments that are particularly have an affinity with homeopathy working well, and that's things like the childhood illnesses. So when you have the acutes of chicken pox and things like that, the remedies help really support the child getting through those a lot quicker and faster, and a lot less stressful for the child and for the parents, of course. Hay fever, asthma, eczema, if you've got hereditary tendencies to that, we can really help support the acute symptoms, but also the underlying chronic, why they've got them, because they're a genetic inherited tendency. And that is something we call in homeopathy a miasm. So, you know, you can Google miasm if you want to know more about it. But basically, in a very quick terminology, it's the genetic tendency to get sick in a certain way. And we have homeopathic remedies that actually deal with that layer. And I think the medical profession are still really searching for their comparison to that. So, you know, that is really a useful tool for homeopathy. And then we go on to things like menopause, female complaints, infertility is a big one. Since the introduction of the pill and the grandparents on hormone replacement therapy, it has really disturbed the hormonal system. And so therefore, homeopathy is a great rebalancer, absolutely perfect for that. Sleep problems of all shapes and sizes, homeopathy, because it's non-addictive, you can stop and start the remedies at any time. So again, sleep issues, brilliant. My big favourite one, and this is what I treat predominantly, is all the stress-related problems, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, anger issues, and grief. I would say that is really, really undervalued, as in it's a real illness. It's a real symptom picture. And we sort of try, particularly in the UK, have this stiff upper lip, like, oh, we're all fine, we're okay. But actually, we've gone through huge emotional turmoil, and we don't talk to anybody about it. Homeopathy is the biggest friend you can have for that. Absolutely the best, because you can go away having spoken to someone who's non-judgmental, and can help sort of pull out the pieces and mirror them back so that you can deal with them. But then you get a pot of pills to go away with that you are then independent. You decide how you're going to treat that grief or that anger issue. So that is one of the big things I really work with a lot. The other thing in the physical realm is the physical stomach upsets, IBS. But to me, I always link them back to the emotional issues. There's always a common thread with stomach issues. And the same with arthritis. That's another one we treat really well with. Migraines and headaches, tiredness, fatigue. We've done a program on the fatigues.
Yeah.
So homeopathy really resonates well with those. I love the muscle, joint and the RSI problems. Those kind of real, they're a 21st century problem where we're doing repetitively doing the same thing, particularly if it's computer work. And then the acutes, like the persistent coughs, colds, where the immune system is really underperforming because of all the toxins and the stresses of life of this modern world we live in. So that's the overall picture. So from babies, and my oldest patient, 102. So a wide spectrum from even, I say, before they're born. So preconception right to beyond 100 years.
Yeah.
Homeopathy suits everybody at some point.
Absolutely. I mean, sort of my introduction to homeopathy, before I did that little, I sort of remember speaking to somebody at work because I had my broken jaw. That had sort of woken me up to my life, really, resulted in the end of my marriage. Not that my husband broke my jaw, folks, he didn't. That was the dentist extracting a wisdom tooth. So the ex-husband the ex-husband was not responsible for the broken jaw. He did get the brunt of it was just like 6 months of pain and sleepless nights was and it was just like marriage, can't cope with this anymore. And it was just like I knew there was stuff going on, and I don't know why I was talking to one of these young guys at work, and he said, oh, my mother uses things like arnica and ignatia, and arnica's the bruising and shock, and ignatia can be for bereavement and whatever. And I just thought, do you know what, for what happened to me as a child, that shock, that bruising, because to me bruising hasn't actually got to be a physical bruise, it can be sort of the emotional hurt. And the ignatia because there was bereavement in the death of my sister when she was only 9 weeks old, and what I felt was the loss of my parents because of the 3 months in hospital, all when I was less than a year old, or up to 18 months old. And I thought, actually, I like this. But the side effect it had for me, I'd suffered dreadfully with period pains. I don't know whether you call them that these days, but that's what they were called then.
Yeah, I think it's still the same now.
I'd suffered dreadfully with those. I really had. And the arnica and ignatia, the side effect was my period pains went.
Oh, lovely. Can't beat that, can you?
No.
An old homeopath I worked with said, homeopathy doesn't cause side effects. They literally are the effect of taking the remedies. So if you took a remedy and it produced a streaming cold with gunk coming out the nose, that's actually a really healthy sign that the remedies are working. Because we have this thing called, sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better. And that's about the body rebalancing itself and flushing out things that are actually more harmful in than they are out. And the body has beautiful ways of displaying that. It can come from any direction when it wants to clear out. So perhaps, rather than a side effect, it was actually the effect of the homeopathy that released you from those period pains.
Absolutely. And what we tend to refer to it as when we're doing the Reiki and the whatever is it's a healing crisis. And I actually love that term. You know, somebody says, my headache's got even worse. Great. Or somebody suddenly bursts into tears. I'm really pleased that most of my clients totally understand this, because I'm standing there with a dirty, great big grin on my face, and I am so delighted for them.
Yes. Oh, lovely. Oh, that's really good.
But that's how it goes. If you understand that it's actually a healing crisis and it is doing you the world of good, that's the most important thing. It really is.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so why use it for modern day stresses?
Well, it's an interesting take on the 21st century. We live in a very fast-paced life now. We have very high expectations of ourselves and others and what we want to achieve in our lives. So we're putting ourselves on constant red alert, really. And then we've invented things like microwave ovens, mobile phones, we drive cars with petrol-led fumes, we process food to make our lives into ready meals so that they're quick and easy, but by processing it and producing more food, we're actually harming ourselves and the environment by not looking after the soil. So the soil is depleted of many minerals, and we mess about with our water. The water's just not fresh and clean. It's got treatments in it, and therefore we have become completely toxic. And then, on top of that, if we haven't got all that to deal with as human beings, we now vaccinate our babies and children way above what vaccinations were available when we were children. So in the 21st century, a 4-month-old baby can have had up to 9 to 11 vaccines, which in one hand, I can understand why parents do that, because they are protecting their children from these deadly diseases. But the upshot of that is the immune system on a 4-month-old baby is just not mature enough to cope with it all. So right from the start, babies' immune system become very vulnerable.
Yeah.
So there's the very first opening, and I'm not anti-vaccines. It's all parental choice. And what I think, if you are going to vaccinate children, then be prepared to support them.
Yeah.
Because they may well start to produce symptoms. And you think, oh, you know, little Johnny's got asthma, or he's got a cough, or he's got a cold. Well, maybe that is the immune system's response to the vaccines and it's got stuck healing itself.
Yeah.
It's marvellous using homeopathy to push the immune system on. So therefore, if you can just take the modern living that we have, the lifestyles we have, not only that, the biggest thing is we're all on our computers all the time. The radiation and the toxicity from those. Again, we have homeopathic remedies that help to flush out and detox the body and keep you in good health, alongside some of the lifestyle things that we're told: exercise, fresh air, good food, everything healthy. So it highlights that the 21st century, we're talking about now antibiotic resistance. And as I spoke to you earlier, I do feel that actually the antibiotics are fine. Us as human beings are getting weaker. So therefore, we need to really boost up our immune system so that when we do get sick, we can fight a lot of it off. And if we can't fight it off, those antibiotics are perfectly safe to use because we are in a healthier place in the first place. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, carry on.
We do have homeopathic remedies that are, again, looking for like treating like. So we have things like Rad Brom, which is an X-ray and mobile phone, BDU screen. We do have homeopathic remedies that will help to flush out toxins in the body. And we have all the vaccines in homeopathic potency to treat children that need some kind of support after their vaccines. If parents choose not to vaccinate, there are other ways of doing it. But, you know, as I say, I'm not anti them particularly.
I think a lot of us, of our age group, we had all the different conditions. I mean, the whooping cough, the measles, the German measles. I don't think I've got German measles. I don't think I ended up with the rubella, but I know at least 2 of the family did end up with it. But I ended, I'm just trying to think, mumps was another one I very definitely got. We all got them. And okay, there are a minority of people that they can affect really, really badly, which I suppose why the vaccines have been brought in. But most of us, we get over it really well. We don't have an issue. By having the condition, it actually builds up a greater immunity and whatever within us, because our body knows how to fight it. And I think we were all where obviously our parents could, and I know they're encouraging it again more and more now. New babies are fed by their mothers on mother's milk. Because okay, if a mother can do it, and I'm not knocking those people who really can't, I'm really not, because everybody has to make their own choice. We're not saying don't go to doctors. What we're saying is there are alternatives. Everything that we talk about on these programs, it's not a matter of don't go to the doctor, come to us. It's a do what feels right to you. And the majority of people come to people like yourself, to the homeopathy, or people like myself, because we're a last resort.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so yeah, and so it really is a matter of we aren't being judgmental about any practice, technique, doctor, whatever. We really aren't. The reason for these programs is just to make information available to people, so that what you can do is you can make your own mind up. Absolutely. Homeopathy to me, hey, it got rid of my period pains. You know, sorry to the guys that are watching, but it made a huge difference to my life. And but you sort of said, but of course that area, to me, when I'm working on people, and especially if I'm feeling energies around that area, that's childhood. Well, when I think that all my stuff was to do with childhood, it makes so much sense to me, that it is that it was childhood stuff that was trying to make itself known to me via the discomfort. And I took the 2 remedies that I did to support myself for what had happened at that time. And so it was totally perfect. And so, yes, I called it a side effect, but to me, I just see the side effect as being something so ultra positive that if something's going to give me a side effect that's positive, I'll take it any day of the week.
Lovely.
So, okay, the other thing that you sort of said was the homeopathic consultation. What does it involve?
Well, it's a verbal consultation. It's not hands-on at all, so you can feel relaxed to come. And basically, the first appointment is the longest appointment, obviously, and we take a full case history. So it'll be all your medical history. It'll be any illnesses you've had. But my main focus always is what do you want homeopathy to help you with right now? What is most limiting your life right now? I'd worry about all the other stuff, but the key thing is if you can see an improvement on the thing that you have that's most debilitating, you will be hooked into homeopathy. So that's my area of focus. What's your time and energy taken up on will be the thing I want to help treat the most. So then from that presenting symptom, we go on to diet. That's really important, the things that you like and the things you don't like. It's not whether you're doing it right or wrong, it's your preferences I'm looking at. Environmental preferences. Do you like hot weather? Do you prefer it cold? Do you like the windows open? Those things will tailor-make the remedy to you faster. And then things like sleep patterns. But one of the biggest things, as we said about the modern 21st century, is, well, what's happening with your stress? Because stress is good. We all need to be motivated and we all need to get on and do things. But actually, when the stress becomes too much, what are you going to do? How does the body react? How does your mind react? What do you do to relax? What do you do to get off that treadmill? Well, if you find patients aren't getting off the treadmill and they're not relaxing, so then the next layer of stress comes along and they might have personal issues. You know, things at home aren't going great. Now you've got work problems and now you've got home problems and it all starts to build up more stress. Well, the beauty of coming to homeopathy is we work out what is making you stressed, how do you deal with it, and if it is limiting your good health, what strategies can you do to improve it? So it's not just about here's the pills and go. We actually look at ways of undoing some of that. So then things like family medical history, personal medical history we've covered. So once I've got a picture of where we're going with this, we can then prescribe. And with the prescription, it will be a short course of homeopathic remedies, either in a liquid or small tablets that you can suck or chew. And they're very pleasant to take. And you just wait and see. The biggest thing with homeopathy is often take the remedies and stand back and wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. and it isn't. I think what everybody's got to accept is they go to a doctor these days, and what they're looking for is a miracle cure. I can take a painkiller and the pain goes. Folks, as we've both said, we are not knocking any profession, but what we all have to realize is if we have a pain, there's a cause.
Yeah.
And it isn't a matter of get rid of the pain. It's what is the cause of that pain? Where is the root? Because getting rid of the pain is great, but you can be doing way more damage by continuing normally because the pain has gone. And so it is important, because you will get some people who will never take painkillers because they totally understand, I want to know what the root cause is. Recently, I twisted my ankle. I knew what the cause was that. I twisted it. Boy, the pain of that. It was horrendous. But you do know that with a twisted ankle, it's, you raise it, you ice it, you rest it, you compress it, so you support it. You do those things. Arnica would be brilliant with that. And I'm sure, I don't know whether there's another one, but you know what the root cause is. You've got an idea of how to deal with it, and you know that you have to rest it. The good part of that is when the bruising starts coming out. You've got big issues when the bruising doesn't appear to come out, when you've damaged yourself. And so what we're saying here is there are other ways of supporting yourself, of being able to find the root causes. We're not knocking doctors. We aren't. They do not have the time to give to patients to be able to do what the homeopaths do, and let's treat the whole person and to find the root cause. And so they can do the best they can within the time that they can allot to everybody. And so, so think things as simple as sprains and strains. Is arnica one of the best things that you'd say for that?
Oh, definitely. And something like ruta or rust tox are very good supporting for tendons and muscles and any strain on the body. So arnica is always number one, but if it lingers on, alternating with ruta and rust tox is a really good first aid method of speeding the whole thing up, really. So good old rust tox, which is poison ivy, actually. It's particularly good for chicken pox and shingles, if you want a little sideline on that one.
Right.
It doesn't just treat disease names, it will treat somebody also that is worse on first movement, but once moving is fine. And it's very much detailed to the specifics of each patient. So the stranger, the rarer, and the most peculiar are the symptoms homeopaths really want to know about, and doctors look at you as if you're, don't tell me that, it's not useful. So if you think a doctor's not going to make use of it, we will. That's the subtle difference. Give us the things that a doctor really doesn't want to know about, and it will probably get us to the remedy very fast. And often patients will say, just as they're leaving, oh, by the way, did I tell you about, and the biggest clue to the remedy is as they hold the doorknob to leave, we call that a doorknob symptom. They'll tell us the most important thing from the whole hour as they're leaving the room. And that's amazing that, we've got the remedy there, and they've only had to say one sentence, but it took an hour and a half to get to that one sentence, was the most important symptom. Because it would be the most peculiar symptom that they could offer us. And I love that. And that's why I'm so passionate about homeopathy, because it really is so individual.
Yeah.
Treat the quirky symptoms.
I love the fact that, because when I was doing this little course and I was being told what some of these remedies are actually made of, and it's like, oh, okay. But then that's the joy, because there's a remedy called, is it Nux vomica?
Oh yeah, one of my favourites.
Which, if I'm not much mistaken, is great for hangovers.
Absolutely, number one hangover remedy. But it's all about overindulgence. So it's stress on the liver. So predominantly this bean that it comes from is about toxicity in the liver. So alcohol consumption or overindulgence of rich foods, and you feel quite sick, and it's only because you've been greedy, really, and eaten too much. That a couple of doses of Naxonica would sort the whole problem out. Absolutely brilliant. Mm.
And okay, another one of them is belladonna, isn't it?
Yes, I've had very interesting experiences with belladonna, and it is obviously deadly nightshade. So it's poisonous in its true form, its natural form, but in a homeopathic remedy, it is absolutely brilliant for particularly flu-like high fevers with very flushed, red, hot face. It's great for throbbing red toothache. You know, where the cheek goes really red and the throb of the toothache. If you take a couple of doses of belladonna, it's marvellous, marvellous. Again, throbbing, banging headaches, belladonna. I've seen really fast changes with that. Again, it's a huge acute remedy.
Yeah, and obviously I'm just picking out some of the ones that I know are some people's reaction would be, I'm not taking that,
Yeah,
because of what the name suggests. And of course, arsenicum.
Well, arsenicum, of course, is arsenic.
Yes.
And of course, we all know that that's a killer. But if you are in a terrible food poisoning position in life, and it is a life or death situation sometimes, then giving arsenicum in the homeopathic remedy, remember, the original substance is missing. It's only being diluted and diluted and diluted. When scientists actually measure the amount of the original substance, it's not actually there in a homeopathic remedy. Which leads me on to thinking, because homeopathy gets a mixed press, we still don't know how the mechanics of homeopathy truly work. But there was a Japanese scientist working on the molecules of water and the memory of water. He calls it the memory of water. This is my link in with how we will prove that homeopathy does work. It's not the original substance that we're so keen on. It's the fact that the water molecules have got the memory of that original substance.
Yeah.
That makes it so potent. And they've got fantastic pictures of molecules on the microscope and from different places. And even it's unbelievable, but even, putting water in different places, the molecules of the water change.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will be the inroad into the success of why homeopathy actually works. Scientists haven't caught up yet.
The pharmaceutical companies can't make any money out of it. That's why not.
Well, it's so simple but effective. Yes, it's not going to cost them a fortune to produce it. You're absolutely right there.
Yeah. So they can't earn a fortune from it.
No, afraid not.
Well, we're coming very close to the end of the program, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I know we've had some viewers there, but you've all kept very quiet, and I hope you've been able to understand us, because I do think that there have been some little glitches with this because of probably because of the humidity we've got here in the UK at the moment. But I've loved this conversation, and I hope that it's given an insight to homeopathy. And well, I'm sure you can see both my own and Vanessa's passion for it. And I hope that it will encourage you to investigate further. I really do. So have you got any sort of just final comment that you would like to share, Vanessa?
I think the key thing to do, if you're looking for a homeopath, having listened into this, look for a registered homeopath that's either with a registering body throughout the world. Here in the UK, we have two very good ones, the Society of Homeopaths and the Alliance of Homeopaths. get on the websites and look for registered homeopaths. These people have been through 4 years of training and are fully qualified. So therefore, when you are spending time with these people, they are actually fully qualified to give you the treatment that you deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just sharing your website address at the side. So yes, we'd obviously say that with anything, whether you're going to a homeopath or any different practitioner of any sort. Go and find somebody who's qualified. Ask to see their certificates. If necessary, their insurance certificate. It's not that people should be distrusted, but you wouldn't, you go to a doctor's surgery and you therefore expect your doctor to be fully qualified, and you shouldn't expect any less from those of us in the complementary alternative professions. There are some superb people out there. There really are. I know I've recommended people to go to both Vanessa and another lady that we both know, and there are an awful lot of really good people out there. Just make sure you find the good ones. That's what we'd say to you. Do go to Vanessa's website. I've just put it up there for those of you that are live. You'll find it on the website under the About Us page just for the next week. It's been up there for this week. It'll be on there for the next week. And I will put it under the YouTube video tomorrow morning, which will be Thursday morning. So it'll be up there as well. It won't be up overnight, but you'll still be able to find it on the website overnight. So if you want to learn more about Vanessa, contact her. Feel free to. Our guests are quite happy to be contacted, and we hope you've enjoyed the program this week, and you've learnt something from it. Next week, we are being joined by another guest who's joined us in the past. Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're having huge technological problems with that one at the moment as well, because Karen's in France, and Karen's going to be sharing Heal Yourself with the Violet Flame of Transmutation. It's a meditation, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. As I love working with Vanessa, I love working with Karen. Violet Flame is an aspect I work with as well. So it's all going to be fun next week as well. Well, it'll be great next week. It's been great this week. I hope you'll think about joining us again in the future. Again, a very big thank you for your time this evening, for joining us and sharing this with us, Vanessa. It's been a real pleasure, as always. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Have a great week. Hopefully we'll see you again next week. Love, peace and light to you all. Namaste.